assumiamo Paola Turci con Fatti Bella per te, per il concetto Fatti Bella per te stessa. Che abbiamo ora nello studio la prossima ospite di oggi, Claudia Callisto, e stiamo anche trasmettendo su Facebook Live per chi volesse seguire attraverso vedere oltre che sentire e ascoltare quello che diciamo. Grazie. Thank you, Claudia, for having come on to the studio again.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, so we've had you and your sister a couple of times now.
Yes.
You're doing lots of interesting things together and solo. So let's talk about some of your projects at the moment. You've got
okay, so we do. I classify myself now as a cultural storyteller and curator and podcaster and author. But we're talking this weekend about the curating bit, which is very passionate about our Italian culture and how we can talk about different aspects of the Italian culture that are important, historic aspects. So we're doing a Glory Box exhibition for the third year with History SA. It happens every May. And I started it 3 years ago at the Campbelltown Library in a small room, interviewing stories from women who had their Glory Box, including mine. And it actually started...
You had a Glory Box?
Yes, it actually started me writing about my Glory Box in my book. And in me talking about it in my fringe. And most people just could relate to it. And they would come up to me and say, I've got a Glory Box too, and I don't know what to do with it, and I'm throwing this out. And so from that, I said, we can't throw those items out because they're of historic importance. And secondly, a lot of the linen that our parents gave us and stored away for our wedding day were beautiful items from Italy sent over. And they were beautiful embroidery items, beautiful materials. So we have now developed a sort of like a story.
Who's we?
My sister and I, Laura, have now just developed a story behind the reasons for the Glory Box. So Laura presents the story behind the Glory Box, why they did it in Italy, a historic perspective, because it was actually law in Italy. You had to have, as parents, it was a duty, and that was in 1700 AD. It was part of the dowry. So even though it wasn't law in Australia, Adelaide, the traditions that our immigrant mothers came over with still parted those traditions, and they were creating them for us girls in the 80s. And we kept telling our parents, look, we're not going to use all this stuff, but I think our mums felt it was a little bit of their obligation of what happened in the past. So we go through in our presentation the history, why it's done, the types of materials, what was required to be in the Glory Box items, if you had a box or if you just had the the linens, why you had 12 sets of sheets and why you had 12 tablecloths, etc. We explain the wedding traditions behind it. We explain a little bit about the bombonières at the wedding, why there's bomboniere, what's the reason for it. So a lot of people know about all these concepts, that, you've got a Glory Box, but they don't know why, where it comes from history, why was it law, why did our immigrant mothers continue with it. A lot of the things were shipped over. Like my nonna from Italy was shipping things over to my parents because we had 4 girls in our family. We had to be prepared for our weddings. And then Laura also discovered the proxy brides information, and she researched a lot of that. So she talks about the proxy brides and the movements, etc. So this weekend, it's our last exhibition for the Glory Box. We are then going to be placing everything on a website that we've got a funding for a website so that it's for educational purposes. It's not a website where we're actively adding to it. We're going to be displaying all the stories of the women that we've had. So we've got about 30 stories, their Glory Box items, photos, everything that we've researched, placed on an item, and that's going to be used hopefully for educational purposes and people researching the reasons why. So we've sort of created a huge amount of information, stories. We've got some beautiful stories this year. So we've got about 8 women, and this year, rather than getting their full collection of Glory Box items, we've asked them to select an important item and talk about the item and what it meant to them as well. So That's happening at Cheech, which is on 84 Paynham Road, Stepney, this Saturday the 24th and this Sunday, so over 2 days.
Tomorrow?
Yep, and Sunday.
What time?
The talk is from 2 to 3, and then you can have a look from 3 to 5, the display that we've put together. And so we'll have the stories, we'll have the items, we'll have the presentations, we'll have a bit about the history. We've got a bridal gown there on exhibiting as well. We'll talk about the proxy bride. So it's a beautiful event. It's a beautiful women's event. We're offering free coffee, some tamales, some a talk about the items. So it's a beautiful event.
So both days, 2 o'clock?
Both days. You don't need to book. Everyone's welcome and just free to join us as well.
Well, I'll tell you, I was talking about the program yesterday evening with my in-laws. I went in for dinner and I mentioned, one of my guests is going to talk about the glory box. Oh, we had those too.
Yes,
The Maltese.
Maltese, so
Okay.
even the English had the glory box items, but they had Tupperware and canisters. We had the beautiful embroidery tablecloths, etc.
Yes.
So moving on from the glory box items, I'm so pleased to... Now, I never used my items. So Mum gave them to me the minute I got married at the age of 29. She comes over and she says, here's your glory box items. I had completely forgotten about them. I received items from my glory box from my communion. So I was 10 for my communion and I had tablecloths given to me in preparation for my wedding.
Good saving mentality.
Yes. So Mum comes over and she gives me all my glory box items and I promptly put them in a cupboard and they stayed there for 20 years.
Oh.
My doilies, I had silk pyjamas, everything.
Oh.
I just couldn't throw them away, but they were sort of orange and green and a few white ones. So I used what I wanted to, but I also remember getting some towels that were embroidered, everything that was out of fashion at that time. They were collected in the 80s. I got married in 96. So I'm proudly to announce that my next event with my host Gina Marchetti, an Italian afternoon, we will both be using our glory box tablecloths to be featured at this next event. Because our next event is called an Italian afternoon, and we will be having coffee and we'll be experiencing a typical Italian afternoon visit type style, and that's the event at Saya on the 1st of June.
Let's talk a bit more about that in a minute. We'll have a short break for some messages from our sponsors and then we'll talk about it. So tomorrow and on Sunday at Chich from 2 till 5.
Yep.
There's a talk at 2 o'clock, you and Laura Di Martino.
Correct.
And then there's the exhibition open till 5 o'clock. And then later on, in a few minutes, we'll talk about the what's happening at Saya. It's always weird re-hearing your own voice. It sounds so different.
That's all right.
You think it is? Yeah, no, fine.
Italia Uno provides the best of Italian sport with the Sunday and Monday sport shows. On Sunday morning from 8 a.m. until 9:30, join Vincenzo Papandrea, Aurelio Montaglioni and Diego Pellegrini as they discuss European and local soccer and plenty more. And then Monday sport from 8 a.m, Vincenzo invites MotoGP and Formula One authority Ugo Capasso and former Italian soccer coach Davide Simoni onto the show. The trio entertain and inform. If it's sport you want, Radio Italia Uno has you covered.
Si state ascoltando Radio Italia 1 Adelaide, qui Antonio Dottore con un programma di attualità e approfondimento, e abbiamo nello studio Claudia Callisto, con cui stiamo parlando degli vari eventi ed esibizioni che sta curando. So we talked about what's happening at Chich over the weekend.
Yep.
And now you started to say that you're doing something with Gina Marchetti, who was sitting in that same chair just last week. So what's happening between you and Gina Marchetti later on?
we're doing an Italian afternoon women's event at Zaya on the 1st of June from 2 to 5, and we are hosting an event, and a very similar event that you would normally go to your family. So the event came about, we've always wanted to do a women's event together. We've been friends since university, Gina and I, and we were reminiscing about doing a visit, visiting your mum.
Yes.
You'd go over with your mum and dad, and you'd go visit your cousins, and you'd sit around the table and you'd have coffee. But first the biscottis would come out, the chips, you'd have coffee, and you'd connect and you'd talk and you'd laugh and you'd find out what's going on in the neighbourhood, what's going on with the family, etc. And we decided that would be a great women's event to recreate an Italian afternoon. So we have it at Saya, but as I was saying about the Glory Box items, we decided to try and create it 80s style. So we're actually using our own tablecloths that we got from our own Glory Boxes. Gina's got hers from her mum's house, I've got mine from my mum's house, and we're actually decorating the hall 80s vintage style with Italian coffee cups, and we're going to try and recreate that same vibe. Now, that's the theme, but the message behind it is getting our Australian Italian women together, generational women, so we're encouraging to bring our mums, cousins, friends, etc., and sitting around a table, connecting together, being in the same room with other Australian Italians, and having a good time. So it's going to be a great vibe. I'll be performing for about 20 minutes, and I'll be talking about what I experienced when I had visits when we were young.
Yeah.
Your dad telling you tira comando at the front door, don't have too many chips, don't drink too much Coke, all that sort of stuff. We're actually going to be having an open podcast scenario where we'll be interviewing our mums, our sisters and our daughters, a cross-generational perspective of what it actually means to be Italian.
Beautiful.
What they feel is Italian, what they want from the Italian community, and it's just a chance to connect with other Italian Australian women. Now we've got 220 people coming at this stage. We've got room for 250, so we're still selling tickets. We've got another week to go. It's $55 a head. Now there's going to be lots of food. Half that ticket price is in catering, so we're going to have the savoury paninis, as well as the chips and the nuts, along with the cakes and the coffee, as well as entertainment. We've got an 80s DJ, so we're going to try and just have a great afternoon.
So you're recreating a visit, La Visita, so just talking about it, having some of your own Glory Box items.
And the old Italian cups. So we've been madly trying to connect and receive as many old Italian coffee cups as possible. And it's just it's a women's event. It's a chance for us to get together. Now, a lot of Australian Italians in our community and our generation, we don't speak Italian very well. But we still want to be connecting part of our Italian community. So we're just amazed who's attending. There's groups of mums, they're bringing their mums, they're bringing their friends, and everyone just really wants to have an opportunity to get together, nothing overly formal, and really connecting as a community of women.
You're saying it's a women's event, so you're making it exclusive for women or asking particularly women to come?
No, it's actually exclusive for women.
Exclusive
the only
for
thing
women.
we have are the ones that are the DJ and the photographer and,
Okay.
Now, we're actually fundraising for the event. So the event's a fundraising opportunity as well, and it's for the South Australian Italian Community Language School, which is part of SAYA. So the raffle that we're having with all the donated prizes are going directly to them. Any profits we make are going directly to them as well. Now, the community school is important for our next generation. That's what we're trying to encourage. We need to be keeping our culture alive. We need to be connecting with our community and our culture. And this is Gina and I, this is our opportunity to be able to give back to our community and just possibly create a women's event that we can do ongoing as well. So we're really excited about it and we're really proud about it. It's hard work. But we're loving that we have so many from the community coming through.
So that's the 1st of June, which is Saturday?
Next Sunday.
Sunday next week. Sunday weeks.
Yep, so Sunday afternoon, 2 to 5. And you must actually book your tickets through myself You can ring Saya. They're taking tickets from Saya as well. And it includes Italian coffee, shared sweets and savoury platters. Drinks are available at the bar. We've got 80s music by G Motion, and we've got raffle prizes as well.
And you said it's fundraising for the community language school. Okay. So now there's another item that we want to talk about. Let's have a musical break.
You want to play my favourite song?
Okay, so what's this favourite song?
So I'm a huge Eros fan. And
Eros Ramazzotti?
Yes, and Eros in the 80s in particular, and I love Più Bella Cosa.
Più Bella Cosa, okay. So what's special about Eros? We've got another question.
It reminds me of my husband and I when we were young, and we used to play it in the car, and we used to go for drives, so it's probably the main reason why.
Ok, Eros Ramazzotti, Più Bella Cosa, richiesto da Claudia Callisto. Okay, Claudia, so we've talked about, you've got an event on or exhibition this weekend, Saturday, Sunday.
At Chich.
At Chich, then next Sunday week at Saya, and now we're going to talk about another exhibition that you've already run elsewhere, interstate in Melbourne, and now running in Adelaide.
Yep.
That is?
So I started the Live and Love the Italian Way photography exhibition by Claudia Callisto, and I launched it at the Italian Festival last year at the Campbelltown Function Centre. And backstory, John passed away unexpectedly at the age of 53, my husband, of 25 years, in 2022. And it came at a time in our life where I had just written a book, launched it. I had just performed my first Fringe season, which was one night, and then 2 weeks later, my husband passes away. And so 3 years ago now, my sort of life ended up in a bit of turmoil. And grief is a really hard thing to deal and manage with. And one of the things that I've done to help my grief is to be involved in my cultural activities, be involved in my community, which is probably why I do a lot of different cultural things. It keeps my passion going. We, funnily enough, had a conversation just before he passed away where he said, you need to keep on doing this. You love it, you shine when you talk about your Italian culture. And so it's a bit of a promise to him as well, which is why I keep doing different things that relate to our culture. But when I was preparing for his eulogy and his funeral, I opened his laptop, and my husband John had a Pentax camera from the age of 16 given to him from his parents, and he always had a camera in his hand. He was an amateur photographer as well as a salesman in the car industry, which was his normal career, But John was known to always have a camera in his hand. He absolutely loved his Italian culture. He would photograph things that would light him up. And every time we went overseas, especially Italy, he would take these amazing photos. And one year I surprised him in 2014. Marcus, our little one, was about 10. I sent him to Italy, to Puglia, to do a photography exhibition workshop, where he went to Puglia and the surrounds and with a mentor, with a photography mentor, and they took 500 photos.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And he came back, and he was supposed to do an exhibition, but when he came back, his mum was quite unwell, and he just kept putting it off. And we as individuals think that we're going to live forever, and so he was there slowly plodding along, putting his exhibition together, putting different photos together, all of his Italian images, and he was putting them on a platform called Redbubble. He was selling them, and his dream was to have an exhibition one day. When he got around to it, that was in between working, footy, child duties, all that sort of stuff. So when he passes away, I see his platform of what he was trying to do, what he was working on, a folder of John's favourites, John's exhibition favourites, etc. And I was quite saddened that he didn't have the opportunity to put his exhibition on together. So it was my task from that point on to actually do it for him. So that's what this exhibition's about. It's a lot of the photos from Puglia. a lot of photos from Molinara when we went there, Venice.
What's significant about Molinara?
So
San Giorgio da Molinara?
Molinara. Yeah. Although we've got some San Giorgio. Yeah.
Sorry.
So John grew up at the Molinara Club. He was very connected to Molinara Club. His dad was a past president of Molinara Club.
Right.
A lot of our friends from the Molly Club, we always went there from the time that we were together. So
Molly, and I've discovered this short abbreviation Molly.
Molly, yes.
And I heard it from Gina's daughter, actually, Chelsea, because they're from Molly too. Yes.
That's right, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, Gina's family and John's family were Paisanos, and John was friends with Gina's brother, so we're very interconnected. And so there's lots of photos when we went to the Molinara, and John was just known as a great photographer that he would just, and when we went to Molinara actually there was a procession, so he was like the roaming photographer at the procession as well, so we've got some beautiful procession photos. So that's where it started. It started that, you know, it's a shame that he didn't have an opportunity to do this, and I would take over and do it for him. So I put together 50 images from about 500, so I've got enough for about 5 exhibitions.
Yes.
And they have it's a range of things, and then the Adelaide ones was a sauce making process that he took when he did the sauce with his parents. Yeah. So I've got the bottling and, you know, other sauce photos. So I put an exhibition together. You know, I've got no experience in curating an exhibition. I just went and did that. I can do an event with my eyes closed. And it was amazing. We had 200 people turn up to the Campbelltown Function Centre. We launched it with 500 images, all on easels. We had food. We had the typical Italian food, wine, people talking, enjoying the images. I then took that same exhibition over to Melbourne and had an art gallery there. I hired 2 walls at Melbourne and brought over 30 of the 50.
Yeah.
And we had that for 3 weeks there. That was logistically very hard, driving over and then driving back with them and putting them up. And that was in January. So now they're actually at the Campbelltown Library in the gallery for the month of history.
So where is the Campbelltown Library?
So when you walk into the Campbelltown Library, to the right, they have like a little gallery which has got 3 walls. So John's images, we've got about 25 on 2 walls with his story. But not only that, John collected vintage cameras as well. So we've got 50 vintage cameras on display. His photography books on display, a few things on easels. So it's a beautiful, and we've got lots of good feedback from the Campbelltown Library. So that's there, that's free. You know, you want to walk in, have a look. All these images are for sale, but that actually wasn't the main purpose for me putting this together. But people have asked me if they can buy them, and they can. So I get them reproduced for you from a commercial photographer, printer, and I think if he saw them on other people's houses or other people's walls, he would be smiling from above. So it was a bit about a legacy thing. Like, he was known for his photography. What legacy did I want to have out there in the world for him? And unfortunately, we don't talk about, the Italian community don't talk about death, they don't talk about grieving. You know, sometimes I find that people don't even want to mention his name, to think they're upsetting me. Yeah. And this was something that I wanted to do, to say, we need to celebrate people. We need to celebrate when they're alive, and we need to celebrate when they pass away. And when they pass away, what is their legacy? And now he's got a son called Marcus, and I wanted Marcus also to be proud of what his dad accomplished during his life, and not to be remembered for passing away early as an individual as well. So that was very important for me, and Marcus was involved in the first event as well.
Excellent. So is that already opened, or when does it start?
So it starts, it was already started on the 1st of May, and I pull it down from Campbelltown on the 30th.
Of
May.
Of May,
yep.
Okay.
And which is in a couple of weeks, yep.
Okay, so it's still going...
still going at the Campbelltown Library.
For another week.
Yep.
Yes, well, it's the 1st of June is Sunday week, so Saturday next week.
Yep. And then in September I have an exhibition going on in the Molinara Club, which they're going to do part of their pasta night, Friday night pasta night, and we're going to have John's images there at the Molinara Club. I think they're scheduled for the 5th of September. and that will be there. But my aim is to get it to the public and to move it from library to library. So I've already gone to also the Theberton Library with it. We've had it at Campbelltown. You know, if I can get it out to, you know, the northern areas and the southern areas and the different libraries, and to spread the images, and they're just beautiful images of Italy, and they really represent our community and our culture as well. So I'm very proud of the exhibition.
Okay, clearly you're very, very busy. And I was going to say, do you have any other projects on the back burner?
Yeah, I do. I want to actually talk about Italian grief. And so that's probably one of the projects that I haven't started, but that's something that's really important to me. I find that, you know, we find it really hard to talk about grief, and we all got ageing parents and the effect of, you know, losing them and losing our loved ones. So I think we need to be more open about that conversation and support people who have gone through grief as well, in an Italian sense. And I will say one thing, if it wasn't for my community, I don't think I would be sitting here having a radio conversation with you. If it wasn't for me being involved in the Italian community and doing all my projects, I don't think I would have been, you know, as good as I am, if that makes sense, because grief is always ongoing.
Yes, okay. Well then, as you were saying that, I thought I will put up again Luca Barbarossa, Portami a Ballare, which is a song that he's dedicated to his mother, passed away, saying, take me to dance, one of those dances that, you know, we don't do anymore, and tell me a bit about your story. Did you achieve what you wanted? Were you happy? But then, let's add another Ramazzotti song. Is there anything else in the Ramazzotti? Any other songs that you particularly
my
liked?
other favourite song is Zucchero,
Okay.
Italia, which is, that's one of my other favourites. I play that on my Netflix, or not Netflix, my Spotify all the time.
Lots of zucchero. Well, okay. Baila. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why I typed something else. Ok, Luca Barbarossa, Porta in Ballare, seguito da Zucchero con Baila, e ringraziamo, thank you again, Claudia, for having come into the studio. And what you're doing is very interesting because, okay, Tyler's I've been having conversations a few times with someone you might know, Angelina Russo, and I might say,
I went to school with him.
Oh, okay. Interesting conversations we've had with her, and she said we did have a different experience. We were brought up differently from
Yes.
our other friends. We thought, you know, what we experience is what we know is normal, but it's not always represented in the mainstream. So thank you for what you're doing. It's very important.
Thank you.